How's it going, everybody? This is Tava Drabo. Hope you're having another great day, and welcome back to another video. Alright, it's time for another edition of Random Thoughts. In this series, I'll talk about whatever is on my mind, whether it's something interesting in the world, a personal story that I want to share, or if I just want to rant about something. Now, lately, I've been watching quite a bit of cooking shows, especially, shows like Master Chef and Hell's Kitchen and a few other culinary cooking shows and all that stuff, and it really made me wonder, whether or not a potential culinary career could be in the cards for the future if I decide that things where I currently work at don't work out. Well, I'm going to be honest with you, I personally do not feel like that, and I'm going to share with you a few reasons why. Now, as you can tell, I am not built to be a chef, and so for this video, I'm going to share with you a few reasons why I would not survive as a chef if this was to end up being my career. Now, there are a lot of factors that go into this, especially since, it is a more demanding industry than it usually would be in my field, like in marketing or some other industry or something like that. So I'll share with you a few reasons why I think I personally would not last very long in this industry. Now, being a chef is obviously one of the most rewarding jobs, obviously, because you get to cook for a lot of people. You get to cook a lot of breakfast, lunch, and dinner, especially like fine dining, or maybe even as a private chef, something like that, getting to serve for clients as well. But still, there is a lot that goes into having to become a chef. You have to go get a culinary degree. Some of them are obviously self-taught and stuff like that, and you also have to really stay for a long period of time. A lot of hours during the day, just so that way not only you can prep, but also to make sure that everything is done and then ultimately cleaned up before the end of the day. That can be very physically and emotionally draining for anybody that decides to want to go in a field like this. And trust me, I'm not somebody that will go through that. Obviously, you all know that as a chef, you would really need to pay a lot of attention and ultimately spend a lot of hours away from home, just so that way you can end up making a living in that particular industry. I'm not a very good chef. The only thing that I can really do is really make food out of prepackaged meals or something like that. And I just would not be able to survive doing something like that for a long period of time. And really one of the main reasons why is because of the long hours. You're basically spending almost the entire day away from home. In fact, I've learned just looking up some of the results on Google about how long chefs usually work during the day is that usually most of them will spend sometimes almost 15 or 16 hours a day at an actual restaurant, and they're doing multiple things. You're doing a lot of prep, getting the meals ready for potential service. You're also doing a lot of the actual service in itself. You're making a whole bunch of courses, like for example, like veals or meats or maybe even a fish or something like that. It takes such a long time just for you to be able to go through a very long grueling day, like for the very beginning of the day at the morning at 10 a.m. and then ultimately sometimes working all the way till like past midnight or something like that. I personally would not do that because the reason why is that that's almost the entire day away from home. You really have no off time whatsoever. You might get maybe a small break or between or there, but you're barely even going to get a chance to rest considering the kind of environment the culinary industry really is. In fact, not only that, you're really doing this almost every single day. In this industry, unlike many other industries, like for example in the classical music world or in marketing, you barely even get a day off or something like that. Heck, you'll be lucky to even be given one if you end up going in an industry like this. I don't like that. Obviously, working more than 40 hours a week is something that I personally would not recommend unless you really feel like that you really need to make a lot more money than you are currently making, just so that way you can survive. I really don't know how anybody would really want to do something like that in a fine dining environment. Now, obviously, if you're in a private chef environment, like working for clients or something like that, it might be a little bit easier. But if you get in a fine dining experience, then man, you are in for a very long and tough day. Trust me, I don't think I would even last past 8 hours or something like that. In fact, knowing my culinary skills, I probably wouldn't even make it past the first hour or something like that because it's just so hard to stay on your feet during those 14 to 15 hours that you are there at the actual restaurant. I mean, fast food industry is already hard enough. This kind of industry, it's even worse. Another reason why I want to make it in this industry is a very low amount of pay that you get as an actual chef. Now, obviously, starting out as a prep chef or a line cook, you obviously gotta work your way up until you end up becoming an executive chef, and the pay pay for entry-level jobs, even, like sous chef jobs like that, is still very, very low. In some line cook or prep chef jobs, you are barely even making minimum wage. In fact, in some jobs, you're lucky to even make like $15 or $16 an hour. Heck, that's a few dollars less than a job that I currently work at. I'm not giving the salary that I'm currently having at my job, obviously. I'm not going to do that. But still, a lot of salaries in a lot of real fine dining entry-level positions is still very, very low. And that's ridiculous. I mean, how are you going to be able to pay for everything at home? Like, like all the bills, your auto insurance, your health bills, all of that stuff, when you're working a $15 to $16 an hour job, literally 14 to 15 hours a day for almost 7 days a week. It's just very hard to do that. And unfortunately, because of the amount of time that you're spending there, it's very hard for you to be able to find another job to really go along with that, to make extra money to go along on that on the side, if you're literally going to be there literally every single day. I just don't find it fair personally for those that really want to get into this industry. Having to get a $40,000 to $50,000 salary a year just for a starter job is just really ridiculous. I mean, if you're going to survive in this kind of industry, an entry-level job like that, especially in a real major fine dining experience, like for example in Las Vegas or Atlantic City or something like that, really I would have expected the pay to be somewhere above like $75,000 for an entry-level job, not like $40,000 or $50,000 or something like that, because this is a demanding industry. Now obviously as you work your way up, you'll be able to make a whole lot more, but again, it's just very long and very grueling. There's just no way you're going to be able to make a living when your entry-level job there is literally just barely above minimum wage. I would not be able to make that amount of money in a short amount of time. I mean, trust me, it's just very, very hard to survive when your pay is that low. The next reason why is because, as I said before, all that time away from home, you are really missing your family as a result. All of those days that you are spending at the restaurant 6 to 7 days a week for 14 to 15 hours a day is going to take a real emotional toll, because you are away from your family, if you have one, for such a long period of time. I mean, you obviously need that rest. I mean, you really need to have at least 1 or 2 days off a week, just so that way, you can be able to get that rest and, just do whatever you want. Just, explore, try new things, and, maybe even find a couple of restaurants, try some of their stuff, so that way you can maybe even take a little bit of that and put it into your restaurant. In this industry, it is very hard to come by based on what I've seen. I mean, you just barely get any days off, as I mentioned before. In fact, you'll be lucky to even get like a vacation or something like that if you request it, unless you're really doing a very good job. I know everybody makes mistakes in the culinary industry, but even then, you'll be very lucky to even get some sort of rest or stuff like that. That's exactly why this industry is so demanding. It takes you away from your families for such a long period of time. I mean, yes, you obviously gotta pay for everything at home as well, and you really want to spend your time with your family. Obviously you want to be with your kids all the time. You really want to be with some of your siblings as well. You just want to have fun with them and really just spend a lot of time with them and enjoy every single moment you can with them. When you're having to leave the house literally at 8 or 9 a.m. in the morning and you don't come back until a little bit past midnight every single day, it is almost next to impossible to do that sometimes, unless you're going into like a private or personal chef level industry job. Trust me, I don't know if I'll ever have a family whenever I get older and have my own home, but trust me, that's something I don't want to do. Usually, I really need that rest, and I really feel like that I need to have that time just to recharge or something like that. And this kind of industry, it's just almost next to impossible to do that sometimes. Finally, the most important reason why I think I would not last in the culinary industry, as I mentioned before, it is such a stressful environment. It will really take an emotional toll on you, and trust me, it will make you very, very draggy within a very short period of time within the moment that you first step into that restaurant. I mean, it all starts in culinary school. I mean, you actually have to spend quite a bit of time learning all the skills to be able to develop everything that you need, so that way you can get into this industry. But once you get in there, this is the real world. I mean, you really need to take everything that you learn and be able to process it for an entire day, 6 to 7 days a week. Sometimes it really takes a real toll on you. And because of that, so many people that have ever wanted to go into the culinary industry ended up dropping out after like a few years or something like that, because because they just couldn't take it anymore. All the stress that they were put through, and also the fact that this kind of environment, all the customers that you are serving, they demand perfection with their dishes. It's just very hard to be able to really perfect that dish for your particular customer. And unfortunately, a lot of people end up quitting the industry because they just can't seem to do that every single day. It's just a very stressful environment. I mean, take it from me when I was at my Burger King job. I mean, obviously, as I said before, I initially enjoyed it when I started out there. In fact, mostly it was just doing the register and then just doing the drinks and stuff like that. But as time continued to drag along, obviously, the longer that I was there, the more that enjoyment that I had for that place ultimately went away. And ultimately, that was the moment that I felt like then that I needed to leave there. Obviously, I have not worked in a fast food environment since or stuff like that. And hopefully, as long as I'm still on the path that I am right now, I never have to do that again. Trust me, it would be a lot worse in this kind of environment because fine dining is a completely different animal compared to working in fast food. I mean, obviously, some of the best chefs in the world, they are on their feet literally more than 15 hours a day. They're literally at the restaurants all the time, checking everything to make sure that everything is ready to go for the service. And you know what? I really applaud those chefs because they really try to make sure that everything works well. And obviously, they're getting all the big bucks as well, so that way they can care for their families and really just have a good time, obviously. If you're going to be like them, though, you really need to put yourself through a lot of physical and emotional stress, just so that way you can be able to survive in this industry, make a good pay, and really, just have fun doing so. And unfortunately, not many people are able to do that. It's a huge reason why the restaurant industry is the way it is today. There are a lot of people that want to go in there, but quickly realize the reality of it, and unfortunately, as a result, it just becomes a lot harder to be able to last in this industry as a result. And sometimes that's just not something that anybody would want to go through. Trust me, I would not want to go through that myself. Leave it to the professionals to figure out how to be able to make it into this industry. I mean, they have been there for such a long time. They know exactly what they are doing. Me personally, I personally would not be able to do that because there's just too much that goes into one particular environment for me to be able to survive as a potential culinary student. As I said before, the long hours, the short amount of pay, obviously sometimes, and just, the amount of time that you're away from your families, it just makes it very hard to be able to do that. I mean, obviously, it is never too late to get into the culinary industry. I mean, I've seen a lot of people really in their late 20s or their early 30s make a transition in the culinary world. If you're one of those people, hey, I wish you the best of luck. I'm sure that you'll be able to find a way to succeed in that particular industry. As for me, I am perfectly fine where I am at because seeing exactly what I'm seeing on TV and seeing what these hardcore chefs really put themselves through, trust me, I just do not want to go through that at all. Alright, that's going to do it for this video. And now, I would really like to hear from you. If you've ever had thoughts about becoming a chef, what do you personally think? Do you think that you would be able to make it into this industry? And if you are a chef, what is it like? I mean, how do you personally view your role in this industry? And what is it like from your point of view? Feel free to let me know down in the comments below, and I'll be more interested in hearing your opinion about it. Anyways, that's going to do it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed it. As always, if you'd like to see more of my content, be sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know when my latest video is released. Comment below for future suggestions for all my videos, whether it's blogs, projects, or challenges, you name it, leave it in the comments below and I'll do my best to make them. As always, follow me on my social media, all the links are in the description below. That's going to do it for this video. I hope you're having another great day, and as always, I hope to see all of you again in another video very soon. So long, everybody.